What up?
What's
What up,
going
kid?
on?
Happy Easter.
Happy Easter.
He is risen.
He has.
He
Happy
has
Passover.
Happy Passover.
You know what's funny? My daughter goes to a Presbyterian school.
Yep.
So I go to chapel twice a week.
Yep.
It's the most religious I've ever been.
God is great.
God is great.
Jesus is
She
king.
prays.
Yes.
Amen.
Yep.
Yeah.
Jesus is good. I see her talking randomly around the house. Jesus is good.
Yeah. She says that?
Yeah.
She's
Unprovoked.
a God-fearing woman.
There's I don't know, and I had said this at the beginning. One of my winner of this year was going to be religion.
Yep.
And there's a stat I put it in our Discord, but religion has exploded this year amongst young people.
Mm.
You know what? That actually reminds me. I was going to tell you guys this. I actually joined a new religion
Oh,
this week.
What is it?
It's a big religion in Los Angeles.
Okay, berries.
It's called hot yoga.
Oh, wow.
I went to a hot yoga class. My first ever hot
Which
yoga
one?
class. Sherman Oaks.
Okay, which hot eight?
Hot 8.
Hot eight. Yep.
And I got to say, number one, except for what I'm about to say, I really like it.
Yep.
Because
It is good. Did you do the sculpt?
Sculpt or regular?
The sculpt's really good.
I did yin, which is slow stretches.
Yeah, that's.
I wanted like a beginner, you know, because I don't do yoga.
So my wife Haley taught hot eight yoga sculpt
that's
for
the hard
6
one.
hours a day.
Is that a hard one?
Yeah, that's
I was
the hard
wondering
one.
how they do it because, like, you know, the instructor's dripping sweat.
Dripping.
Like,
It
how
was-
dehydrated
it's not
was
a healthy
Haley?
lifestyle.
Right.
I was like, we're having a baby. Like, we can't.
Yeah, like, how
this is too
dehydrated
much.
was this?
One
It's
of
like she's
these
cutting weight
employees
every
goes
day.
to the Hot 8 down the street, and
Yeah.
Bieber's there every Friday.
Really?
So
Well,
I
yeah,
actually
so-
think he's actually more well than people want to give him credit for.
Right. Or he might be sweating out the demons, you know?
Yeah,
But
it's great.
I wanted to tell you guys because I came to my mind because of Haley and because whatever, but
Yeah.
I don't do yoga, but because I'm getting older and I'm doing all this golfing and boxing and lifting, blah, all this stuff.
Yeah.
I'm getting a little tight,
Stiff.
a little jammed up.
Yeah.
And so everyone's like, oh, you got to stretch. And like sitting at home and stretching for an hour is so boring and sucks.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, let me try this. I love the sauna, but I was shocked. 2 takes. I was shocked at how hot it actually is.
Yeah.
Like you are dripping
Yeah.
sweat.
It's so nice.
And number 2, yeah, it felt so good. And the one I did was late and I came home, went to bed, slept like a baby.
Yeah, you sleep great.
But, you know, it's a religion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like there's the way, you know, when they're like, oh, take a deep inhale, now deep exhale. It's just like,
yeah.
Like
Those people are so annoying.
it is so.
I because of Haley, I'd gone to a handful of her classes, and then just in general, pre-marriage, when I had time,
yeah.
I would go to random classes.
Yeah.
And
That's me now.
I mean, like, you know, sound baths and
Yeah.
all of
They
this
had a
stuff.
sound bath.
Yeah.
And everyone was moaning and
Yeah,
groaning.
yeah,
And
oh
my
my
third
God.
eye is full.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like,
shut the
dude, this
fuck
feels
up.
a little like, it almost felt like no offense at all to, and I'm not saying these people were this, whatever, fuck it. It felt like everyone was like struggling with something
Yeah.
that they were trying to let out.
All right.
And I was like, holy shit, I just can't.
You know what I realized? I watched an episode of White Lotus.
Okay.
One episode.
Haley was watching. Yeah.
Yeah.
Horrible show.
Oh,
Love
my
the
gosh.
show.
It's
I
horrible
think it's
show.
actually one of the best shows
If The Rock
ever
was in
made.
it, you'd
I
love
know,
it.
but I'll tell you, if The Rock was in it, I'd
Yep.
watch it.
Yep.
But I'll tell you why I know why it's popular. It is a bunch of rich people
Yeah.
whose lives are miserable.
Yeah. People love that.
And people like that. Because
They do like it.
inherently, everyone thinks, whether their life is miserable or not, a lot of people think their life is miserable.
yeah.
And then you watch this, you see good-looking, wealthy people who every single one of their life is a train wreck.
Yeah. What's not in is happy rich people.
No,
That's out.
no, you can't.
Lauren Sanchez, Gail, you know, happy little
You know what's
rocket
funny?
ride.
You know,
People
like
hated
obviously,
it.
I'm leaning right these days.
Yeah.
I love the space women's space thing.
Right.
And then I realized who hates women more than women? Women. They
Yeah.
literally every woman is shitting on it.
Yeah, especially happy rich. I mean, look, it doesn't even hit my actual radar. Like I have no opinion.
Yeah. I
But-
think it's cool. I mean, look, I think to normalize, and look, the problem is they said they went to space, and the technical definition, they didn't go to space.
Right.
So that was the big,
I mean, they said a lot of dumb things.
right.
They
But
kissed the ground.
yeah,
It was 10 minutes.
yes. But I do think it was cool, and I think it's going to normalize
I agree.
more people going up and trying it.
I agree, but I think that they were asking to get ripped. It was very tone deaf.
Yes, I agree. It was totally
It was the opposite of White Lotus.
yes, and that to me was like I saw that and I was like, that's fucking cool that they did it.
Yeah.
And then I watch White Lotus, which America loves, and Americans are miserable.
Yeah.
And they want to watch other
If
people
Katy
miserable.
Perry would have stabbed Gayle King in the air.
If Katy Perry like spit on Gayle King,
Yeah, they'd be like,
That's
yes.
the genius of White Lotus is that it shows like the different classes.
Right.
So like the second season, the two hookers actually came out on top.
Right.
And the rich people came out on bottom.
No, the rich people always come on bottom in White Lotus. That's the whole purpose of the
but
show.
that's his point.
Because his point is, I know how to get America engaged. Everyone wants to see rich people lose. Let's make a show about rich people constantly losing.
Yeah.
You can't show
even in the third season, the woman that worked for the hotel and her son came out on top.
Yes.
You know, they sailed off rich.
That's why we're in a
but that's his whole like societal commentary.
Right.
That
you can't.
You should do a little 10-minute rocket booster ride. Hate them. I mean, they
hate their guts.
Oh my God.
God, everyone hates literally them. Like Katy Perry tour are going to get canceled because
I know,
people are going to not show up because she attempted to go to space.
It's funny. It's really funny to watch. If you get into it on TikTok, it is just
I didn't, but I saw a little commentary from like mainstream media on like ripping them, and I said in our chat, I was like, I think it's pretty cool.
It's TikTok. If you look on TikTok, it is like
it's Jeff Bezos, which everybody hates.
Well, he stumbled.
Yes,
that was a big.
But there was a fake
that was
door
like a
opening.
JD Vance style, where he fumbled the college football trophy.
Yeah,
and Bezos stumbled when he was trying to kiss the ground or.
He was trying to get to the door, but
yeah.
they did like a fake door opening.
Yeah,
the door opened and then it closed. You see that?
Yeah.
And
I
then,
heard that.
All right, let's
get down to business.
All right, what do you got here on it?
All right, so a very close friend of mine has to be unnamed.
Yep.
Can't be on video, but is a expert in autism. And obviously this is something that's very close to me, given that Maverick is diagnosed with autism and I'm in that community.
Yep.
And it's come to the forefront of the nation. Everyone's tweeting about it. Everyone has opinions.
Right.
And I don't want to make this political. And the reason why she has to be unnamed is because a fear of deportation.
I don't think you should be, but I understand your fear.
But can I ask what your status is? Are you not a citizen, but you have
I'm a permanent resident.
Right.
You just never know. Every day there's a new thing about
I feel you.
Who's getting in the list versus not.
Yeah.
So what I wanted to bring her on because I've gotten so many DMs and it's such a like national topic at this point, autism. And she's an expert in the field and she's been in it for over 20 years at this point. What's being reported that's true? What's being reported that's false? And let's start there and we can have a conversation.
Are we talking specifically like RFK?
Yeah, everyone. There's a lot of opinions.
Or here, I'll frame it differently because that's a very big question. Do you believe in the last 30 years there's been an increase in autism?
I think that's one of the first myths to dispel. There isn't an actual increase in the rate of autism. It's that we're diagnosing it better. So if you think like, I don't think this is a secret. We all can imagine that research in general historically has been done on males, white males. These are the type of people that come into research settings, right? It's usually well-resourced families in well-resourced cities where there are big academic medical centers like we have over here.
Yeah.
So over the years, there's been a lot more work done on trying to identify autism in females is one aspect, but also bringing in people who, minority groups who have traditionally been kind of skeptical about medical research because there is a history in this country of inappropriate conduct, right? Like back from the 70s and 80s. So a lot of the skepticism comes from there.
Yeah.
But so that's one aspect of why the numbers seem to be growing.
Yep.
The other aspect is that you have to take CDC numbers with a grain of salt. Okay, so CDC numbers that come in, not that it's inaccurate, but it's representing, sometimes screenings from doctors' offices. It's not an actually detailed evaluation. At the same time, there's people who kind of self-identify, and some of them are accurate about that.
Real popular. That's
themselves.
also very popular on TikTok. Like it's
Very
real popular to be
popular on
autistic.
TikTok. Yeah.
Like people just throw it out there.
Well, because
Yeah.
it also may assume you're a genius.
Right.
Because there's the smartest people in the world.
And I think it's cool to be like
Elon.
kind of antisocial right now or like quirky.
Yeah.
Like I think people are in a way like looking for an identity in there.
Well, I think people are celebrating some of these things because in historically being autistic, or for example, isn't like the biggest song right now called Anxiety?
Yeah.
Like people are celebrating anxiety or
Right.
celebrating autism in a different way.
I wouldn't say people are celebrating anxiety because that's a really like uncomfortable situation to be in.
Right.
But they
But
when I'm
being neurodivergent,
Yeah.
because I think we've gotten to a point where we realize, unlike what's being said, that it's an epidemic, it's not an epidemic. You can't catch it from each other.
Right.
So it's, the ultimate fact is that it's a different type of brain wiring
Right.
that, there's other reasons for that we can get into. But we now know that like this is something, they have their own strengths, as we know, some of them, not everyone, but some of them are supremely talented or supremely
Right.
intelligent, right? They are, I think one of the most upsetting statements I can imagine for you as a parent with someone with autism would be that, they don't pay taxes, they can't work, they will not date. Those were some of the statements made this week, for instance, right? So this is untrue because we know lots of people who are married, have kids, they've contributed
I don't know
to
if
this
Elon
country.
dates. I think he just pays women to have kids.
He
Wow.
DMs.
The Elon thing is interesting.
He doesn't actually date.
He
Yeah.
does something.
He sends it via mail.
Yeah.
The Elon thing is interesting, though, on two aspects, because he is actually not officially diagnosed. He
Right.
self-identifies, and he's kind of yo-yoed on that over the years.
Right.
So we don't actually see. So those are some of the rates that are going into CDC.
Yeah.
And then there is going to be a chunk of people that are not being captured by those numbers at the same time.
Yeah. Do you think a lot of, like, I remember growing up, the only kids I knew that had ADD or ADHD were white kids. And no one Indian, no one Black, no one Korean, no one no Mexican kids in our school. And I would assume that falls similar to in autism, where like ethnic groups kind of don't even accept it.
Yeah.
They just don't even, they don't even think that's possible.
Right. So there's a lot more stigmatization in different communities. And I think this brings it back to this point of like making statements like that, because it's not like there isn't stigma here either. It's just that, again, it ties into the US as a community has been always at the forefront of science and technology, right? Like there's other players emerging, but it's always been like in the top range. The kind of policy changes that are being proposed is actually going to take it in the opposite direction to that, because it's actually just going to be a waste of money. So for instance, like the vaccine argument, right? Autism caused by vaccines. There's been years of research that has already disproven that.
Yeah.
But again, TikTok, social media, certain, like, especially during the pandemic, like the fear of vaccines.
Yeah. And I think to your point, the problem is you mentioned yourself, take CDC's number with a grain of salt.
With
right?
a grain of salt.
When the last 5 years, when we were all forced to take a vaccine, and then we hear that a lot of the data was bullshit, a lot of the reasoning was bullshit, it makes it very difficult. And I know they're two separate cases and incidents, but what happened is there's like a distrust happening with government institution in this country, which is very different than like recent times. I know in 70s and 80s, 60s, 70s, people hated the government, and a lot of radical change happened. When I look at like what's happening now, I think everyone wants to burn everything down because honestly, the pandemic was so much lying by the government.
Right, in both directions.
Yes, and I think that lying drove everyone to a point where like, I don't trust anything. Like if tomorrow there was a new vaccine needed for our children, I don't know one person who's giving it to their kids.
I know several, but
but I'm saying
I see what your point is in terms of COVID has definitely amplified.
I did not.
Exactly.
Because the data was clear that young kids don't die.
Yeah. And I think that's the problem. You could always find data to support your argument.
And I was in the hospital the whole time, and all the nurses told me, like, young kids, the only reason they knew young kids had COVID because they had to test them.
Yeah.
Not because they were there
Symptoms.
for COVID.
Right. Yeah.
So COVID is an example of, again, CDC rates, right? So you have people that go into a hospital, they get an actual test, they report it, those are captured. What about everyone who took a home test?
Yeah.
That's not really captured. At the same time, there are people who went in and probably just talked to the doctor and said, I have these symptoms. And they're like, well, COVID's going around, so it's probably COVID, but it could have been the flu.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I have a question for you. You're in RFK's shoes tomorrow. Okay. And there's a general distrust in this country with data, specifically around health. Big Pharma has lined the pockets of most politicians in Congress, and they're very influential on American media. And if you look at that as like a starting point, how would you when it comes to, I think autism is one case of like what the administration is trying to address, and maybe he doesn't have the facts right, and he doesn't have the talk track to actually make any change on it. But like, how do you change the sentiment of Americans around this type of issue?
Right. So great question. I want to, in the broader political context of what you just mentioned, I think we have to still be protective of science and research and separate that, because the core feature of science and getting accurate information and building trust from the citizens and residents of this country is going to be that it has to be unbiased.
Yes.
But you already have a team that's in there with a very biased opinion on that. So I don't
But
think that
pharmaceutical
that's going
companies
to
have the bias too, right?
There is no medication for autism though. So the pharmaceutical company in this case doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Right? They could be lining pockets, but there is actually no medication for autism because, again, it's not a preventable or treatable disease.
Yeah, it's
genetically based. It's genetically based, and the behavioral therapists are working on specific symptoms that are distressing to individuals and their families.
Yeah.
Right?
So let me ask you a question.
The other aspect to build trust is what is now called like bringing in stakeholders into research. And that is something he is saying they are going to do.
Yeah.
So hopefully that is the positive.
And what is
that
a stakeholder in this case?
Anand is a stakeholder. As a parent, you could be a stakeholder as a uncle of someone with autism, people who have autism.
Are in the community.
Whose lives it actually affects.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
So those are the people that need to contribute to the conversation.
Yeah.
And that's hopefully maybe going to happen. But what is concerning is that there is this deadline that's being said, like we're going to find this out by September. You can ask every single, it doesn't even have to be like an autism research or anything, right? You can ask any scientist, is it actually feasible to do any kind of
real research,
huge scale study like they're proposing in 5 months? Impossible. It takes 4 months
I would take
just to get approval.
I agree. I think the dates of this administration, I would take with a grain of salt.
Yeah. What I worry about is that come September, arbitrary numbers are going to be put out. And I can say I'm pretty connected in the autism,
circle
community,
scientific community specifically. Nobody in that community has been contacted to be part of this work, right? So say some arbitrary numbers are put out, which it will be if it is in September.
Yeah.
How is that going to build trust in any way?
No, I agree.
I actually think just as a casual observer, because I've been around a lot of autistic kids, I actually think it's even underdiagnosed than it is today.
I would say this is a question.
Like if I go to a kid's birthday, I'll see some behavior from a kid. I'm like, yeah, he probably could use some behavioral help. Yeah. Not that he's not going to be okay, but he might need, or she might need like someone just to be like, okay, we need to like work with you and
like
help with behavior
therapy or
therapy.
Yeah.
Like speech therapy, physical therapy.
OT, no, but really behavioral therapy more than, I mean, speech, sure. But I'm not in a place to tell a parent.
No.
Obviously.
The lesson I learned early on with being a parent, you never tell anyone else how to parent.
No, I agree. But
don't have to tell. You never talk about religion. You never talk about politics. You never
talk about religion. God is good.
God is great. As long as it's good.
He is risen.
Yeah.
Yeah. As long as he's rising.
But
it's
the
good.
point I'm saying is like I just casually at kids' events and I see kids and they would benefit because Mav has the most like expert team, right? He has 15 people that work with him. And I look at some of these kids at random events and I'm like, they probably would benefit from that.
So let's say if they don't do anything, they'll probably be fine.
Some of them will be.
Yeah.
You know, there is a level of like, just like any of us, right? You may have had anxiety when you were younger. You worked on it. You adapted. You figured it out.
And
so
like
some
she
of them
said, it's
will be.
non-medical. So that's the point, right? It's not like how everyone's saying we're medicating these kids. There's no medication for autism.
Well, you guys don't believe this, but there are people who believe the vaccines cause autism, right? So for that camp,
right?
How do we get them on board with this? Because that camp is growing.
That camp, I would say, is the toughest camp, right? Because there's just like, it's almost like generational trauma for some people at this point in terms of being involved or trusting medical science. And also there's a lot of people that it's hard to know what is the source of accurate information to read from. What happens is things like the vaccine, when a story breaks, MMR vaccine causes autism, it's the headline everywhere. When the story breaks that it's now been disproven, it's not making headlines. So I do think it's like, you know, that's the fault of the scientific community. It's not something that the current administration is trying to change, but I do personally think needs to change a lot. Nobody's reading dusty old journal articles.
No.
The platform, if the platform is podcasts and TikTok, like that's where scientists need to be.
Yeah.
They're not perhaps the most socially savvy themselves. Right. So like maybe with some support, but that does need to be that shift.
Yeah.
So I would say that's like probably the toughest crowd. But I just don't think putting billions of dollars into trying to again examine vaccines, which has already been done, or environmental toxins is the other variable, which has also already been done, is going to be helpful, because what the money should be going towards now is kids like Mav who have multiple health concerns and have not been included traditionally in research. Like, how do we support a kid like that? How do we support them as an adult if they need support at that point? Right. Because just like we talk about, the population is rapidly aging and we're going to all live longer. So are these people.
So one of the... sorry, go ahead. You had a question.
Well, I was just going to ask some really basic questions about this whole thing. Are we 100% sure it's been proven that vaccines don't cause autism?
Yeah, I actually have personally been involved in studies where we have looked at
vaccines are a broad term. There's a lot of vaccines.
Yeah.
Well, like let's just say the child vaccination schedule.
Right.
Which is a lot.
Which is what they were talking about. But specifically, it was also more focused on the MMR vaccine initially.
Right. Yeah.
Those data were found to actually have been made up.
Right.
Right. Again, not breaking headline.
Right.
But back to your original point of like, how do we know for sure?
Yeah.
So we've like, again, this has been published. I've been involved in these studies where we've taken like 6-week-old babies who are at high risk for autism because of like a familial genetic risk. The genetic risk being the biggest proven factor so far, is you see brain changes at that age. That's before the child vaccine schedule.
Right. So
their brains are already different. Not that all of them will go on to have autism necessarily.
Yeah.
But their brains do look different at that point.
Right.
You know, so then, yes, you're thinking, is it like in utero things? Is it like maternal factors? Is it environmental factors or genetics?
Right.
The maternal factors, the environmental factors have also been proven to not be associated.
So the answer to the question of, are we 100% sure there's no relation between vaccines and autism is yes, we're sure. Closed case.
You can never say 100% in science because that would be inaccurate. Humans there's always going to be that one person that reacts poorly, reacts differently to something, right? But I would say anything over like a 90% accuracy rate in science is a pretty good rate, actually.
Right.
And
which is what we have.
Yeah, which would leave enough of a sense of doubt for people that maybe it helps.
Sure, because if you, again, this is because what's happening on TikTok is not that kind of lingo, right?
Yeah.
It's other kind of lingo. Like you were talking about ADHD initially, and we could say the same thing about ADHD. One of the questions I get asked a lot is like, isn't that just overdiagnosed? And there are certain groups of people that do get kind of a diagnosis, maybe that doesn't match. But in all these years, like I have rarely like walked into a room with a kid and been like, oh, you don't have ADHD. Right. It's usually been like, how did no one notice this before? Is kind of still the reaction. But there are these little pockets where rates are a little bit different for a variety of reasons. Like in ADHD, college students wanting an Adderall prescription kind of inflates some of the rates. Right. So, so I think like it does leave that 10% doubt that can seem like a lot to people. But I think if public conversations about these findings become more digestible to people in this way, like in the sense that, no, that 90% is actually like a really good rate. I think that would shift people's perception about that. I think people's perception has shifted. Like I would say 10 years ago, I would get a lot more vaccine questions. I don't as much anymore.
Yeah, I just, my only quick things, and then really this is all I got, because I'm just trying to understand it, like with no political care, is my first question was, are we sure that vaccines have no connection? It sounds like pretty sure. Next question would be, are we 100% sure that the rates have not gone up? Because it sounds to me like if we're getting better at testing, that kind of explains it, but it doesn't totally explain it, right? Because then we don't have the previous data is what that shows.
We actually do have previous data. I will say what is also been improved in probably like the 20 years is how it's measured. You know, there is a whole scientific basis to that too. How are these measures?
So the scale changed a little? Right. So we made it like more sensitive.
Yeah. Exactly. Sensitive is one thing. Like a CDC rate, if you're talking about sensitivity, is sensitive. Specificity is the other variable. Like you could be sensitive to neurodivergence broadly and be capturing like a variety of those rates. But how specific is that rate to autism per se? So it has to have both good sensitivity and specificity in that regard.
So we're 100%
this is a measure that again reaches like 95, 96% types of specificity and sensitivity rates. So that has also been a huge contributor to like capturing symptoms in people who have medical complexities, in women with autism, with adults with autism. You know, there's a whole generation that was just like, oh, that odd quirky kid, but actually they had autism. People just didn't know what that meant, right, at the time. And now those people are going back and getting diagnosed. Again, not with the intention of like there's going to be some medication or cure or treatment. It's more like a self-awareness and like understanding myself. So this also influx of adults now seeking a later diagnosis has changed. So those are people that were born 50s, 60s, 70s. They've always had that. It's just that they are now being captured because of better measures.
Is autism caused mainly by chance? Like what is it's similar to other things that you can catch just by chance?
It's called idiopathic. So you can have most of the cases of autism are called idiopathic genetic mutations. So you have these kind of very complex mutations happening that are not observable, obviously, by the eye, or even the brain is like MRIs are not, it's not observable on there. Very, very much microstructural kind of level of changes. And that can happen randomly in development. But you also have kids that are more prone to, you know, those syndromes because of some known genetic factor. There are, a few known genetic risk factors of autism. They are rarer than the idiopathic. And then you might have kids like Mav who've also had multiple brain surgeries. And, you know, his brain, we know, is already different from that. So it presents with autistic features, but it's a much more complicated kind of scenario requiring a lot more support right now. I just think that's, you know, in the broader political context of like a lot of these changes are being made across agencies because of inflation and like cost saving and being more efficient and things, this is not an efficient approach because we are going to waste money doing that.
Real quick, because also my disclaimer here is I'm not nearly as sensitive to the information being put out because since I'm not affected by it. So admittedly, I might be missing a lot here. But like my understanding is that RFK's position is the child vaccine schedule hasn't been properly tested and that we need to test it because it's weird that the schedule went up and these rates of autism went up, which could be false. So my question is, what's your critique of what RFK is doing? Like if you could have a chat with him and say, hey man, just do this instead because here's why. Like what is he doing wrong and what's the damage being done?
I would personally not go up to him to talk to him about that because I think that should be someone who is living that life, right?
No, but I just mean, what if someone says, hey, 1 in a million chance here. I got you in a room with RFK for 10 minutes. You can try to persuade it. What do you tell him?
So if you're speaking specifically about the vaccine point with the schedule of vaccines and the age, what is actually happening, again, because they went down the route of vaccine research and this is what they found, is that the brain changes are actually related to the age. There's a lot more brain change happening in the brain of someone who's autistic between 0 and 2.
Yeah.
Which is when the vaccines happen.
Right.
So it's coincidental.
Right.
It's not correlational. They're not causing each other in any way. But I mean, I'm not like autism would cause vaccines anyway, but it's just a coincidental finding that that's the time that there is this kind of drastic brain growth that then, impacts kind of all these microstructural things in the brain, networks in the brain eventually. But that has exactly been found out. So this is again the point of like, we shouldn't be spending money on this at this current point of time in the autism community. Like we shouldn't be spending time on those efforts because we've already spent billions of dollars.
So your main concern is like the money and time is not spent in the right place.
My main concern is this is going to put us back 20 years.
Why?
Because the research on all of these like environmental factors, vaccines has been ongoing for 20 years.
Right.
So we are, instead of progressing forward. Yeah.
So it actually goes into one of the topics. One of the things that Trump administration has been doing has been freezing funds for a lot of research universities, Harvard, Yale, all these things.
Right.
And part of that, it's politically driven why he's freezing the funds. And when you come to realize what those funds are primarily used for is for research, for science, medicine, technology, whatever. And I actually was listening to the All In pod today, and one of the things that I actually agreed with them on was Friedberg was like
administrative expenses.
Well, it was more of like, okay, it's great that we give Harvard money for research. Why don't we give Eli Lilly and Pfizer because here's the thing, no matter what, it's a capitalistic society. Everyone's gonna make money off of this, right? So giving an institution like a nonprofit, and the problem is that if you talk about like least popular brands in the world, Harvard is at the top.
Right.
Like just from a marketing standpoint, Harvard is a bad brand now.
Yeah.
It is a brand that like it's like the White Lotus crowd. Like you hate you love the show because you're watching rich people.
Yeah,
you fucking hate everyone at Harvard.
No, I heard what he said, and he does have a point in theory.
Yeah,
it's just how do you practice it? Because his point was private research is way better than giving it to a university.
Yeah,
and here's the flaw in that, because I know UCLA better than any hospital in the country. You have tens of thousands of kids. I'm talking from a children's perspective, so forget adult. You have tens of thousands of kids that come every year through the hospital, and they have data on these kids, and then they can go do research based on all the data they have. A private company doesn't have that data. So when Mav had pneumonia, meningitis, and his brain was fucked up last July, they have that data like triangulated.
But the hospital still has money.
No, I know, but if you cut it from them, they're not going to be able to help the next kid.
Here's what I'll say about private research institutions. The reason they are not, I'll say in the scientific community, like respected is because they are not unbiased. They do private research that's only reviewed, what's called peer reviewed by a bunch of other scientists that they employ. So it's like already a biased viewpoint.
But that's
and they
how-
have a product to sell.
Yeah, I agree. That's how the public views Harvard today, that they are biased.
Probably. But,
Yeah.
and that's, again, we're going to get into a whole other,
Yeah.
because they are not upset with Harvard because they're studying like vaccines and autism or something like that,
Yeah.
right? They're upset about the
Yeah.
political stance
They're
that
upset about
Howard
protests.
has taken.
That's what they're upset about.
Right. And what
they
your
wanna cut
point about
funding,
cutting funds is that so when you get a research grant from NIH, which is what he's heading in a way, is about 60% of that cost actually goes for infrastructure. The rest is what you actually get to do research with, right? So they want to cut that infrastructure cost to 15%. That's a huge shift. And universities don't have money anyway. They do have like these huge numbers, but when you think about the number of like services and, like employees and things that they have to cater
That's
to.
the problem. These schools employ so many people to make so much money that do nothing. So I think if you forced Harvard to be more efficient and say, we'll still give you money, but you got to be a little bit more efficient than you've been in the past.
So here, fine.
Then you need to give more money, because the reason some of that inefficiency is happening is because people are paid very low salaries. Like realistically speaking, to do even to do a small scale study on an effective level, you need millions of dollars because that's paying people's salaries. It's paying people's.
I think
what
medical
that salary is
professionals in
coming
this
down
country
to.
are severely underpaid.
So if you go on like California's budget, you can see what doctors get paid at UCLA.
Yeah.
Isn't the guilty party in all of what we're saying the university? Meaning,
Not the medical professionals.
the
no.
university shouldn't be political, in my opinion. That's, I think, what the administration is saying. We're also saying that the employees and the staff are underpaid, and but one person's really rich, and
But
that's
isn't
the
that
university.
the case in any business?
What?
Isn't that the case in a lot of
I know, but
businesses?
it's a nonprofit.
Well, sure, but this is a nonprofit.
It is a
It's
nonprofit,
it's
except for the
federally
one or
funded.
two roles.
It's
Yeah,
federally
one thing,
funded.
one
That's
thing
what's the difference.
I would agree with what Friedberg said is they shouldn't be nonprofits.
Yeah.
But can
I
I
agree
just
with
ask
that.
here, why isn't the university the common denominator here?
The university is the problem.
Like, can't we just all agree on that?
Yeah.
The
The
university is a
university-
problem, not the people working.
No.
Correct.
Exactly.
Yeah, that I can take a
Harvard
little-
is $50 billion in endowment. They make-
53.
what?
53.
Okay,
And
53
You just
billion.
lost $3 billion.
We should fucking.
No big deal.
I mean, yeah, fucking cut it. I don't care.
Get Doge
You
in
have the
here.
money.
No, the endowments from
But the prize
private
no
investors.
tax. You have 53
I have no
bill-
problem with taxing them.
I know. So that's what I'm saying. The common thread here is the universities have become these sort of money sucking, tax exempt, squeezing the staff. Not like
No one's getting
we
fat
got to
on
come
it.
back to reality
But
here.
I guess the question is, how is when they pinch the money, that's not going to affect the people at the top. It is going to affect the people,
I know, but maybe it'll
the families
no, but
and the
The family should
Because what- let
question
me
the
ask you
school
this.
then. But the family should
but let me ask you
question the
this:
school.
what other mechanism is there
Mhm.
to try to get them to act a little bit better? What other way could we do it than to
I
say?
mean, this is why tuition is going up. It's not the most effective way, but that's what's
Right,
bringing
but
in
that's
money
not
at
going
that point.
to the staff.
It is.
It's not going
It-
to.
Not
I'm
at
saying-
the scale.
It does get
at the-
contributed to that.
I'm
It's
saying-
not the scale the tuition's increasing, right? So when we went to USC,
hmm
I think when he went it was 22 or 23K a year. When I went, it's 29 and it's now 65.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So the salaries aren't increasing at the same rate.
Yes,
So what I'm
and
saying
I
is
think
in the
USC is
world.
the problem. They're
Right.
100% the problem.
But my question to everyone in the room is what other mechanism is there than to say, hey, we're going to just cut your federal funding and your tax
It'll
exempt status
force them
then?
to adapt. And first of all, they're destroying middle class families' wealth to send their kids there. So I'm okay if you force them into like, most of these colleges are overstaffed. They have too many employees that do nothing. They're not providing value to the students. Fine. Cut, make it affordable. I want everyone to be highly educated in this country. I think it's completely broken. And I think whether the reason why the administration is cutting the funding is the right reason, I do think it's going to force change in like, they're doing it for political reasons. You're anti-Israel, fuck you. You're going down. They've drawn that line in the sand, which they're allowed to do. They can do it. Do whatever you want.
But also they get around admission. My brain's blanking, but discriminatory admissions and things. Yeah. They do things against. Yeah.
So the way I would think it would actually make an impact on a day-to-day person as someone who works in academia is, instead of saying that, here's your $1 million budget, your typical, or rather, what would have typically been $1 million budget. Mm-hmm. Now I am not going to give you $1 million. I'm going to give you 70K or 700K. Mm-hmm. And out of that, because I'm cutting down that 60% rate to 15%. Right. So what's going to happen is then at the university level, they're going to tell us that, listen, now we don't have 60%, we have 15%. So you can't have an office and you can't have staff to do this. Right. And you can't, et cetera, et cetera. Right. Instead, what they should be doing is, here's your budget, here's $1 million, right? The university should get 20%. Right. And then the rest should actually be what is called direct costs of research, not the indirect costs. So instead of cutting it there, they should establish standards within universities where like they shift the ratio of direct to indirect costs.
But here's my question. Shouldn't the university just comply with their asks? Like, this isn't a, hey, we hate education and so we're doing some cuts. This is a, hey, you're not doing these things. It's political, it's biased in administrations. There's all these things. Stop doing that or else we're going to cut your funding. Isn't the problem the way the university is operating?
There is a lot of problems with any kind of public institution like that, nonprofit institution like that. I think Harvard is just a separate case from here because it's much more politically driven there. Right. Like, again, if you're trying to be non-political and just think about this from like science and research and what's actually going to, like one of the things we have to put in grants is in more recent years is, here's my proposal. I'm asking you for $5 million, right, to do this 5-year-long study. What is this actually going to save the American population, like cost-wise? You actually have to provide often what is the overall healthcare cost savings from this, right? So
they use that and be like, this is going to save too much money. Kill it.
Yeah. We don't like this.
We need those ESPN
ads. You should say, what's this going to make Pfizer?
That's exactly. You got to lie that it saves no money and then you'll get the money.
I do think most universities will comply. Will just have to comply with whatever they are saying. But the most pronounced effect of that is going to be on families that need those systems, right? Like the patients, their parents,
But
I think siblings.
I just have to say that the thing that makes me feel crazy, and I promise to you guys, you guys know this, I promise to you, I'm split politically. I'm not in either camp. But as someone who honestly, some of what the Trump administration is doing makes logical sense to me. Mm-hmm. When I look at this, it's not a war on universities. It's not a war on spending or on education. It's not. They didn't wake up one morning and say, you know what? Screw universities. Screw education. They have a very clear list of issues, and I think those issues are kind of reasonable. Like, I don't think schools should be hyper politicized, and like I said, the discriminatory admissions practices and all these things. And if they're saying, listen, you guys get so much, you have so much money, tax exempt, all this stuff. Stop doing these things or else this is going to be the punishment. I feel like we're directing the frustration in the wrong direction, as if this is an administration that's anti-education, instead of looking at the universities who are making out like bandits and they're able to play victim. And we're like, yeah, it is Trump. Mm-hmm. And I just feel like we're getting fooled.
So I think one of the just larger points about university research hospitals, so UCLA, Stanford,
right,
Mayo Clinic in Cleveland, all these like amazing hospitals that treat the most serious conditions.
Yeah.
What we should be doing, it's like the Singapore model where they pay their politicians like $1 million a year. And that's why Singapore's government works really well.
Right.
And if you, because we all know what the university doctors make. And if we had just 10x their revenue, you'll get the best of the best of the best.
Right.
And then it'll be a less burden on healthcare.
Right.
I know, but he's talking about the university itself is taking advantage of the system.
Like the perpetrator here is the university, and we keep getting tricked to think that it's the big bad Trump administration. And I just, as someone who actually cares about results, not trying not to be emotional.
But mine is just out of the box.
No, you're right.
thought.
And you're right. But my point is like, are we sure that all the skim that the university takes off the top of these grants and all the everything, it just like, I feel like we're getting tricked again because they're using our emotions to say that Trump is bad and the administration is bad. And it's the
problem is they don't have the second step.
What?
They just cut. And they don't have the second step.
You know what? It's going to create the second step. The universities like Yale is supposedly unloading their private equity portfolio.
No, Harvard is.
No, Yale. Yale came out.
And now the rumor is Harvard.
Yale came out this weekend and said they're going to unload a $6 billion private equity portfolio. So because of research or whatever, funding cuts. And I think when I think of that, I'm like, wait, you're not actually cutting anything in the school. You're unloading your private equity portfolio. Yeah,
it's
go
a
fuck
joke.
yourself.
It's a joke, and people believe it. People say like, "Oh my God, look what they have to do." They don't ask.
And my biggest gripe, specifically with Harvard, is like, when you think about America, you think French fries, pizza, apple pie, football, Harvard.
Yeah,
it is a declaration of the greatness of America.
Yeah.
I mean, the number of presidents.
It is not going to happen from the last 10 years. What Harvard has become, you're not getting Mark Zuckerberg. You're not getting Bill Gates. You're not getting these people.
Right.
You're just not. They're not the same quality of people that those people came from. The presidents. Like, what president's going to be coming from Harvard? Do you understand 15 years from now when a person runs from Harvard, they have no chance?
What we talk about, Stephen A. Smith and Andrew Schultz.
Yeah, I mean, Shannon Sharp, he might as well be him. I'm just saying, like...
But, when you're talking about, like, these big endowments and, like, equity portfolios and things like that, again, the names, obviously, that are coming up in the conversation at places like Harvard, Yale, like the... well-known, but also like really massive, rich schools. But that's the thing. These policies are also going to impact every single small-scale school in this country, right?
I understand.
They don't have a portfolio to unload, and they don't have endowments to help offset.
Honestly, the UC system should sue Harvard. They're the fucking problem.
Yeah.
Harvard,
That's
Yale,
why I just don't understand why we're not all collectively mad at Harvard and Yale, and as opposed to treating
There's just too many other things to be mad about.
Well, I know, but
they're going to cause.
No, I think it's
they're
two
going to
things,
cause
right?
the funding cut.
I think
Harvard's going to cause the funding cut for America.
The political backlash that Harvard has gotten just brought the larger point to the mainstream.
Which is what? What's the larger point?
How Harvard is a nonprofit,
right?
Exempt from all these different things,
right?
And
basically runs one of the largest funds in the world.
Yes,
right.
That I think is what's the only positive of all this,
right?
Not like cutting research.
It's White Lotus,
this.
Right? But
Harvard
once
with
again,
the $50 billion fund is White Lotus.
What's about
53.
to be
Why do you keep cutting the 3?
Yeah.
It is billion.
Yes.
Well, the other thing they could do in line is also, like, as you're talking, what would be the alternative is like, okay, you want to privatize research? Fine. You want to give that money? Fine. But you have to then make it necessary for them to like subject their review to a peer review process. I honestly think
with the money that these guys have, all the universities, like top 10, it's got to be close to 200 billion if you were to go through their endowments.
Way more.
Yeah, probably more.
Yeah, that's like top 5.
Is pay your researchers more.
Well, here's the problem.
So you can get better researchers.
Do you understand the administration's point of view? And I hang out with old white people. That is my demo. That is my
big Kamala people.
Yes. And the biggest gripe with universities in America, when I hear the side comments, is they're indoctrinating young people in America to hate America.
Right.
That they go and shit on America. And that is the problem. So if you want the money and you want to change the budgets,
right,
you have to change what you're teaching the kids. And that's whether you agree or not, that's what has to happen. Because like what happened last year in college campuses was anti-American for a lot of people.
But not only that,
Whether
like
you agree with it or not.
So here's the thing, right? It's funny to me that Republicans are now on the anti-free speech page. Like they don't want universities to have free speech when it's not their free speech.
Right.
But before, the whole thing during COVID was you're censoring us.
No,
you're doing
it's
this.
different. You can have free speech. You just, there's consequences. The consequences, you may not get your money.
I'll also tell you 2 things.
They're not saying you can't have free speech.
But that is attacking free speech. If there is going to be a consequence to free speech by nature.
And then when you said the COVID lab leak, which we all agree that it was, we talked about this in 21,
right?
Like it's clearly the COVID lab leak,
right?
And that wasn't considered free speech, and people got mad about that.
What, that you couldn't say it was?
Yeah, you couldn't say it.
Right.
You were getting censored.
So I just want to be clear about my point. I'm not talking for Marco Rubio. I think, and from my opinion, that number one, I think that this is sorry, not my opinion. This is what I understand, that there's a little bit of indoctrination going on at these schools. Not just you can say whatever you want and we remain apolitical. I think that the argument is that there's a lot of, they're telling them this stuff. The biggest thing that I have seen that I don't think is free speech is all of these videos and things of screaming at Jewish students and accosting them. And
look, the First Amendment's really clear. If you're inciting violence, it's not free speech.
Right. So those videos are everywhere.
Yeah.
And the universities notoriously do nothing about it.
Yeah.
And that is a problem.
When you can't walk onto campus.
If you did that to a black kid,
agree.
if you did that to any
free speech, if you incite violence, that's against the First Amendment.
Right. So I would say at a bare minimum then, if we say, hey, colleges, you just continue to let this open anti-Semitism happen on your campus and you're not doing anything about it, and we're going to pull your things unless you do. Once again, I'm not there in the classroom to know if they're indoctrinating, but that is the argument, that it's not just that they are allowed to protest. It's that they are actually teaching them a slanted view of which way to be on the issue. Now, I'm not there. I don't know. But screaming at Jewish students or any group and doing nothing about it, I think is absolutely ridiculous.
I mean, it happened in 2001 to Muslim kids.
Right. And I'm
I
not
was
about
on campus
that either.
and I saw it.
Right. But I don't support that either. But I'm just saying that to say.
But no one was pulling grants.
I know,
from
but
that.
it wasn't like no one, what you're saying, because I was on the fucking campus too. There was not crazy protests, that type of conversation happening on USC's campus like it was last year for pro-Palestine. Nowhere fucking near it. Nowhere near it. It was not. They were not, white American kids were not walking up to kids telling me, you can't enter the room. Was there racism on campus? 100%. That's not illegal.
I'm just saying, Republicans want free speech, so have it both ways.
I know, but you can't. But yeah,
the indoctrination point that you brought up, I will say that I've been on the West Coast, East Coast, South, like I've worked in academic settings in multiple places, big places, small places. It's not an active indoctrination, right? Mm-hmm. The type of people that tend to go into those lines of work tend to be liberal progressives, is kind of how a lot of them would identify. Mm-hmm. So yes, some of that probably seeps into, because obviously when you're paying someone to come in and teach, you're actually paying them for their expertise and whatever it is. So their own bias and opinions do come into play there.
Right.
It's not that kind of active indoctrination. But when we're thinking about like these, we're still talking about college campus level, right? Here, all of these educational laws will also affect kids in school.
Yeah.
Right.
So are they being indoctrinated there? Because then you could make the argument, like I was saying, in the red states, they are being told, there is a lot of censorship going on in school material. So is that not indoctrination in a way?
Right.
So yeah, again, I think like what's happening at Harvard and stuff, obviously because it's a big name, like you said, it's the face of America, is going to be like the catalyst for some big changes. But what's being lost in the mix, in the conversation, is that obviously there's a huge country. There's a lot of smaller scale schools. There's a lot of different types of educational models. And those are the ones that are going to be affected. And again, those are the people that are going to get most impacted by whatever these policies are going to be.
I agree with you. And I think it's Harvard's fault. And the other three. And I think we can't forget about the moment in front of Congress and not being able to admit that these certain things aren't anti-Semitic and that they wouldn't stop. That Congress testimony was a complete joke. I think
a joke.
We all, I don't know if we all
agree
feel
with
that way.
that.
Okay.
No, I agree with
so my point is, let's just use that moment. That was a joke.
They were speaking.
That was horrendous.
Whether we like it or not, it's like LeBron speaks for the NBA.
Right.
When he says something, that's what the NBA feels. Harvard speaks for all educational institutions.
Didn't they all apologize?
Some of them got fired and some refused to apologize. And some, it was a mixed
people
bag.
got fired.
But my point is that was horrendous. And I think that was a complete joke. And I think that deserved to be punished. And I think that unfortunately, and I agree that this is unfortunate, but like you're saying, Dee, they kind of set the tone for education. They are it.
They're it.
And there is collateral damage. And I think that is horrendous. And I feel for everyone impacted by it. But I just want to keep going back to, I think the enemy here is those 5 colleges. I just want to make sure that I wish everyone could point their frustration in the right direction, because I feel like everything goes back to the Trump administration is bad, and it just absolves these people of guilt.
Yeah.
Who we all watched it and we're like, oh, their admissions are going to plummet. Everyone's going to pull their kids. What a joke. This is stupid. And we're just skipping over that and going to, it's the White House's fault. And I think that what ends up happening.
Yeah.
And another point they made in All In is, do you realize that they're kind of using all of these issues and playing victim and doing all that, and they just remain unscathed? Their endowment doesn't change. Their tax exempt status doesn't change. They keep saying, oh, poor us, and oh, look what, and we point the anger in the wrong direction. And that's the part that frustrates me.
Because, I mean, just to reiterate, it's $53 billion for one college.
You keep minusing the 3.
$53 billion.
Right.
One college. How many companies?
It's a joke, and you're tax exempt, and it's a joke. And once again, my question would be, okay, if 60% of the money,
sorry, go ahead.
If 60% of the money goes to Harvard or whatever the number is, when they get a grant, are we sure that all that money is very, very well spent and they're not skimming off the top?
Of course they are. 100%.
So why are we?
We are not sure. There's no way to be sure.
So why aren't we mad that hey, give the money to
I
the
will
research?
tell you, the 40% that we get is a very, very tight, budget that has to be proposed, has to be approved by multiple people. Nobody's flying business class to go do this work.
But at the college, right?
Yeah, there is a lack of
transparency. They're pocketing that money.
Is flying private.
And they're squeezing the people doing the actual work. And
he's 100% flying private.
What I do think will be a shift, culturally speaking, is people will, other schools will not look to Harvard as oh, this is the leader of whatever they are going to do, we are going to do at this point. Not necessarily because they disagree with the standpoint or whatever. There's going to be a whole mix of opinions around that too. But I think there's more recognition of things like that. That there is this economic disparity between a university like Harvard versus a smaller public school, for instance. And so we are going to have to forge our own way in that. I think that's already happening.
Which long term, I think is good. I think today it just really sucks.
And just to wrap it up, because we've gone on this a decent amount of time.
Yeah, I could talk for hours about this topic.
I don't know a parent of a high school kid that would, if their kid was qualified to get into Harvard and they got in and they say no.
The parent would say no.
I don't think there's one parent that would say no.
Well, there is.
No one you know is disadvantaged enough to get into Harvard. So no one will get in. No one you know's kids will get into Harvard.
Right.
Because the best and brightest do not go to Harvard anymore.
Yeah.
They just don't.
But you get my point.
They just
But now I think there is.
I don't think so.
No,
You're saying not
Princeton?
one?
No.
Yeah.
No. I'll tell you. I think the shift is happening. Change happens slow. There are very wealthy people in Silicon Valley that I hang out with who have high school kids. None of their kids are going to the top schools. And obviously their kids are at all the ritzy private schools.
But that's because it's just impossible.
No.
It's not like they got in and turned it down. Don't give me that bullshit.
But my point is, what happens in that when you do not let anyone in and you choose to let a certain group of people in and you don't let other people in, then other things become cool. And that's what happens. So,
Colorado, prime time.
So all of these schools, no, and forget it. Palantir came out with a campaign last week. College is broken. Admissions are based on flawed criteria. Meritocracy and excellence are no longer the pursuits of educational institutions, and chaos has ensued on university campuses. Starting today, Palantir has launched a fall fellowship for the best and brightest graduating high school students. If you're one of those Indian kids, I only speak for Indian kids because that's what I am, who are fucking the top of your class.
You were not the top of your class.
No, but I'm saying I'm speaking for Indian kids who I know are the top of their class and can't get into one fucking college.
Right.
They're not going to college. They'll go to Palantir and they'll become millionaires. And then you know what will happen? Some kid in the neighborhood will be like, you remember Raj? Yeah, Raj is in Mykonos this summer because at 18 he joined Palantir. He's 22 and he's at fucking Scorpios.
Yeah.
And it's done. That's what happens. It's a generational shift.
It could happen.
Yeah.
It's going to happen. These people are going to change it.
Dude, I've been the only one in this pod talking about college is broken 5 years ago.
Right.
I know, but now because
But that's my point,
the funding-
though. Is
I said that 5 years ago.
So
I know, so then fucking cut the
Because
funding.
the Trump administration did something about it.
All I care about is medical research. I don't
Yeah.
not care
I know, but
about
it doesn't come.
I know.
It should not be a.
But something has to be threatened.
You have to change.
Like what else? What's
I don't
the
give
other?
a shit about some fucking kid
By the way,
from
if
Andover going to Harvard. I
I'm
don't
just saying,
care.
what's the
I know,
other?
but if UCLA wanted unlimited money, they have very powerful alumnus that will give them the money for research. They don't need public funding. I know that for a fact. The richest people in the world will continue to fund the most important causes in the world.
I mean, they have $53 billion. Just the interest on that.
Well, I want to meet some of these friends to give me some money to do
I know,
research.
but the problem is your profession are not good salespeople. You need people like me who can raise money at any time we want. You have to partner.
That could be the shift.
I know, but that's the shift. It's like get the guy that is raising money for Harvard endowment to help raise money for medical research.
Yeah.
No one wants to fund people protesting on American campuses anymore. We're fucking done with that.
I have a quick question.
The one thing I'll contribute to that in terms of like when you're saying, you know, like they're not getting the best students. There's like a shift in culture, right? We know people who've becoming incredibly successful without college degrees and like standard education.
Right.
So you know that there's already this model that exists. So people are going to gravitate to that anyway. But also there is definitely a shift where people, it's not about like, oh, we want the most excellent students. And this ties back to trust in science. You want community advocates. You want to train people that come from different communities that are going to trust that person or trust that type of team to do the research, to do the science that like is applicable to them, is like unbiased towards them.
If you're stupid, you should not be at Harvard.
Well, if you're stupid, that's not the
But there's stupid people getting into Harvard. Yeah.
There's always been stupid people getting into Harvard.
I know, but I'm okay if their family gives $100 million. I'd rather not the federal government give the $100 million. I'd rather give Chinese family wants to give, if Jack Ma wants to give fucking $100 million to get his kid into Harvard, that is the best thing for America.
But how is that different from federal money when the breakdown of that money is still going to be the same?
No, but I'm okay with it's not federal money.
No, because it's not taxpayer money.
I see.
It's not taxpayer money. If Jack Ma wants to give the money, and he wants his kid to pull up to Harvard in a Lambo, I'm good with that. That's America. That's capitalism.
I think
he
also
deserves to be in the school.
I think also as entrepreneurs, we just understand that like if you got federal free money and tax exempt status, we would all be billionaires. Like it's cheating. They're getting away with cheating. And it's like, we just want, I think that especially if you're going to play political games.
But they should do it for everyone. That's the problem.
What?
You can't just single out Harvard because you didn't like their protests. Take it out for all
I
universities.
think
Is that
that's
what we're
where the
talking about?
murky free speech
but
thing
take it out
happens.
for-
represents.
Take it out because they're only focused on Harvard. Take it out of all universities.
They're taking
Aren't they talking about Yale and the others?
No, they capitulated.
Okay, but wait, aren't we talking about, didn't we just say that it's affecting all education and all grants and all things?
It is.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
it's going to have a cascading
They're taking it
effect
from
on
too
that.
many, not enough. The issue is they're overdoing it. It's not just Harvard.
Right now, everyone else has capitulated.
Columbia,
They
Yale.
capitulated.
But
Yeah.
you're talking again, Anand, about the big schools. Still.
Okay.
I'm talking
Yeah.
about so I work in LA. I work in the Inland Empire. They're an hour apart from each other. You will be shocked at the level of lack of, the difference in access to resources, right? So those schools are not the ones that are making the headlines or the name, but they are actually the vast majority
Yeah.
of schools across this
I know.
country.
And I think
By number,
Harvard is
not
the
as-
problem.
But my point is like, look, guys, it's common sense that if you, once again, as entrepreneurs, if the government gave you free money and tax exempt status, we could all make a successful business tomorrow, right? We all know that. If you're forced to compete, that's the whole thing that makes it hard. And so if you're going to be propped up by the government, meanwhile saying fuck the government, eventually the government's going to stop propping you up or threaten to.
Yeah.
It's
Look.
just that simple.
Larry Summers, who was the chancellor of Harvard,
Yeah.
I know Drama and I are huge fans of The Social Network.
The movie, yep.
But
love
he
it.
hates Trump.
And
He sounded he sounded real dumb on that All In podcast.
Yeah.
I gotta say.
I gotta agree.
I thought Ezra Klein was great.
Oh,
yeah.
insufferable.
Yeah. Vomit.
I loved him.
Unlistenable.
Vomit.
Loved him.
And Larry Summers too. Like they kept.
No, I thought both of them were great. But because you guys are indoctrinated, so it's
Yeah.
fine.
I don't know who's
We're indoctrinated to the US of A.
yeah.
We don't need to go down that
Let's
rabbit hole.
abandon. Where are you going?
No, but in the scene in The Social Network,
Yeah.
when the Winklevi
Yeah.
come in, that's exactly what you're talking about. He basically said, you guys think you're these like rich kids and I have to do something for you.
Right. But let me point out a very important thing. Harvard is now the Winklevi in that scene.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree.
Right. And so someone saying, hey, you've had it too easy for too long and now you've just rubbed us the wrong way. Chill the fuck out. Stop getting political stop making your universities a political
That's
hotbed.
fair.
Teach people knowledge.
I just think it's ironic.
But they're not
that
using the
whole-
words you're using. I think that's where the inflammatory reactions
I've
are
never
coming.
said that they are good at their word choice or their approach.
They're not good at. They're not.
But I
good
The
at
problem is they
communication.
needle.
But that's
Totally
you
agree.
know what?
But my point is we can't get lost in the the needling and not said right and lose that, hey, I believe that the villain here is the way that the system of these Ivy League universities works. They're the real villain. And I think we're getting tricked to think that it's the White House. And I don't think it's the real.
No.
I think all four of us want the
same end goal.
We do.
beneficial of humanity and people to thrive.
We really
So
do.
it's
And we
just
want
how we all
research.
say
And
it.
I want medical research, unlimited funding. I want to be the best
I want
and
free
brightest.
healthcare. I'm
I
a
want
big
these
believer of free
friends contact list
Yes.
Yes.
who are going to contribute to
But you
medical
need
research.
him.
Yes.
It's all about his show. He's a showman.
Yeah.
Yeah. You need him in
He
the
can
room.
be the showman.
Yeah.
You got to go to dinner.
Yeah,
So we
I do.
Right. But look, if I could end on anything, it would just say that I could not be more behind both of you. And I think it's a shame that we also are potentially losing ground as far as the best and brightest in the whole world. And I think we have plenty of money and we should give unlimited money to real research and breakthroughs. I'm saying that these universities have become fat cats and they're the ones squeezing the salaries and the people and the whatever, and they're getting tax exempt and they're doing all this stuff and everything's getting political and they've gotten too big for their britches. And I think they're the real enemy of what we all want.
Enemy of the state.
Enemy of the state. And I
Enemy
think
of
it's
the-
too easy.
Are they the deep state?
in a way. But I think it's too easy to say.
I want all of them to sell everything. Fuck them.
Great.
Yeah, or just compete, motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Just compete.
Yeah.
You're cheating. You have a cheat code and you're getting so rich and you're wondering why people are mad that you're turning kids into fucking activists instead of doctors and surgeons.
Yeah.
Okay, real quick before we leave, tariffs.
Ryan Peterson, who, do you know him or I don't know him?
They're an investor in Ghost.
Okay. So CEO of Flexport, founder of Flexport, he's very active on Twitter, has basically been on this tweet storm the last 3-4 days saying that small businesses are going to go out of business and Chinese factories are going to take them over, which I actually don't understand the dynamic. Do you?
Yeah. He's saying basically the margin that like a brand would make, the Chinese factory can stomach the tariff and sell it directly, which I don't believe.
Okay.
Yeah, that's not, Yeah. I don't think it's a real threat, but you could say that they could go out of business and be replaced by Chinese.
I disagree.
So, but as we all know, as people have manufactured goods for decades, these goods have been placed in December, January, and the tariffs are going to hit in May.
Have you imported goods? I mean, cleared customs in the last 2 weeks?
Mm-mm.
When's your first cleared customs?
I'm just holding on, hoping for some progress. I think the meaningful one a month.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So the first time
it's all over by then.
That's how I feel.
Yeah.
I'm just by the skin of my
Everyone
teeth.
knows it's over.
No, so Amanda, she bought something from China. Don't know where.
The enemy.
I got a USPS notice with a tariff. Like, this is what you have to pay.
Yeah, goddamn
Never seen it before.
Right. Like a custom
For
clear
like
custom,
an individual.
Yeah.
Right? Obviously, like, when we import
But is that
goods,
the de minimis issue?
I don't know. I don't even know
of
what you
course,
bought.
it's shipped from China.
That's de minimis. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
There is a massive, so trucking routes in Cleveland, Ohio are down 35% year over year this month. There's a massive diminished freight route.
Ocean
coverage.
is done.
Ocean's done.
China.
China. Everyone's waiting it out.
Right.
And I think from what I've gathered on Twitter is that small businesses are the ones that are fucked.
Well, yeah. If the tariffs stick around, especially the China one, like half at best of the small businesses in this country are going out of business.
Yeah.
There's just no way. I don't think, look, I'm just being wildly optimistic.
I would bet the farm. I mean, my business is betting the farm that it does not exist in 90 days.
It literally can't.
It won't.
Like,
Did you
it's
see
the impact? I mean, literally at all these big stores, they're talking about big retailers, like massive amounts of vendors just not importing goods until this is solved. So I'm talking like empty shelves, COVID style.
By July, we have empty shelves.
Yes. I'm talking weirdly looking. You walk through a huge.
Have you cut imports?
Well, my next big one doesn't come for a month. And so I'm just.
He could just float it in the ocean.
I mean, look, here's what I'll honestly do. My honest strategy is I'll just take the hit. I can. I don't want to, but I can. Yeah, whatever. My strategy is actually to be really aggressive, take the hit and gain the shelf space.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of competitors who just can't. Both smaller businesses can't do it. And then bigger businesses, because of the overall margin impact, they just won't do it. And so instead, they're going to let old products sit on the shelves. And so. Yeah.
Did you see the report that Navarro was in the Oval with Trump, telling him to go ham on tariffs?
And then Besant.
And then as soon as he left, Besant and Lutnick rushed into the Oval and say, yo, chill, send the tweet ASAP.
Yeah.
Because the markets were crashing.
Yeah.
This is last week or when?
Yeah, or whenever he sent the tweet. Was it last Sunday?
Oh, I see. Yep.
It's just so funny how the White House is working. No one's on the same page,
right?
And no one knows. That's the problem.
You want to know what's crazy though? I'll tell you what.
And this is non-political. This is all what's being reported.
I think that is much more common than we realize in the White House in general.
And it's just the difference is the tweet can change it.
that's the difference in modern day White House. But I think that if you look at
we've never had a president just tweeting policy.
Yeah.
Well, we never had Twitter being the main form of communication.
Right. But I think that if you look back as far as we can go in like recorded history, I think if we could see.
But I don't think any president other than Trump would just brazenly just tweet shit out.
I think Harry Truman was dropping bomb and he didn't tell anyone.
Right. And like Nixon, the Watergate stuff, it was all like these little
chaos.
cohorts. And like I think we want to think about the White House as like.
No,
these people
I think you're
not,
right. No, I think you're 100%
it's just
right.
you add Twitter to the mix.
You add Twitter and someone's willing to use it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't
look
think
at
Trump's
Obama's
administration,
tweets, even to this day, they're so choreographed.
I know, but that was a different era of communication.
You want me to tell you why I want to give you the positive take on that, on that is I think that by tweeting the idea, you're able to get a read on it before you do it. And I think there's a positive side to that. Like if you tweet something and the markets crash, they are looking at it and being like, oh, maybe we should pause for 90 days.
Yeah, because by the way, a tweet from Trump is $1 trillion swing.
Yeah.
Multi-trillion.
Yeah.
He's the most powerful communicator in American history. So if he says something tomorrow that says, like today he said, Russia and Ukraine are talking, Japan and us are talking, whatever. If it's mildly positive, tomorrow the markets are up.
Yeah, I think if you could have tweeted,
If
I
he
think we should
says,
just nuke Hiroshima.
then it's over.
Right. If you could have tweeted, I think maybe we should just nuke Hiroshima, and it's all everyone say, no, market's crashing. You might have been like, you know what? Let's hold on that. Yeah, we'll see. I have no idea, but I would say just if I'm using what I think the most reasonable outcome is, if the tariff lasts 6 months, we're talking empty shelves and massive bankruptcies.
Yeah.
Well, layoffs have started.
That's fine.
I mean, it's similar to COVID. COVID
It's an
was
excuse.
a cover. Yeah. It's an amazing excuse.
We're in excuse phase.
You the next 30 days, if you want to fire people, you should fire everyone.
Yeah.
It's an incredible excuse.
I have a close friend who was in Vegas for WrestleMania.
Yep.
And WrestleMania is obviously.
I have a close friend too. My mom, she was in Vegas and she said it was empty.
Oh, really?
She said Vegas is dead. She called me Friday and said, there's nobody in Vegas. This place is dead. Wynn was dead. She's like, the only thing that was busy was Delilah.
Interesting.
So, I got her rest.
That's good. That's good.
So my friend was saying that the grab and go places were busy.
Right.
So, obviously much cheaper than going and dining at a restaurant. And the high-end restaurants were not busy. He didn't go to.
Right now we're in the period of like Dee said, cutting the people who you wanted to cut anyway but didn't have an excuse, and everyone's like bracing. But we're not in the like the impact has hit physically yet. But I think that if we go 3 more months, the impact will hit so hard.
So I'll give you. So last week we talked about. I was looking at going to Europe as like a family trip.
Yep.
And
you got a free Hawaii trip coming.
Yeah, I have a free Hawaii trip, so I'm taking that.
The boomers.
So now I have money.
His in-laws.
So now
the boomers.
Yeah, my in-laws are taking care of me for Hawaii. So now I have a couple bucks.
Yep.
And I have to go to Europe 2 times this summer for work. And I was like, all right, can I bring the family?
Right.
And last summer when I tried to do this, it was like, $8,000 for business class, crazy fucking hotel prices. And I was like, oh, fuck this.
Right.
I have no chance. I'll just go by myself, in and out, get whatever, do my work. Last week I had said, I was like, business class seats were at 5,000, 5,100.
I thought you said it was higher.
Yeah, no. It was between 5,100 and 7,400. Those were seats.
Okay.
I'm not joking. Yesterday I looked, $3,700.
Yeah.
To go business class to Europe?
In July, which you said would not.
Yeah, I thought that was
no sacred
you can't
times.
pierce it.
July, $3,700.
Damn, we've reached Europe.
September's going to be 2,900, huh?
What?
September will be 2,900?
Well, I mean, I see. Yeah, September will be free.
Although this might be your window if they fix it in the next couple of weeks. This is the low.
So I'm like trying to figure out, should I?
Well, I think the damage is already done.
It takes a few months. Yeah.
Because people have already canceled their
Change their plans,
imports.
right.
They've already.
Most people need fucking 9 months to plan a trip.
Mm-hmm.
They're not planning a
No,
trip.
I'm saying the damage to small businesses is already done.
Yeah. But I'm saying also, but from a trip standpoint, like most people can't book a trip 2 months, 1 month.
So spring break was the last hurrah.
I mean, I could not believe the price. I was like, fuck.
So the family's going to Europe?
I have like a lot of miles. Like I could basically take my family for free.
Yeah. So everyone's going to Europe?
I kind of want to go. I mean,
should.
this might be the cheapest time for everyone to go. I have enough miles for my entire family to fly for
So
free.
3,900 gets you to what? A major city.
Paris, nonstop, on a Delta One flight, $3,700.
Business.
I gotta go.
Everyone's flying flat.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to go.
Oh, free?
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. It's literally, it could be.
I mean, I think you guys both deal with big box retailers. They're echoing the same sentiment, right? That it's just chaos and no one knows.
I'll tell you, I want to be careful what I share, but like they're doing weird things that they never do. Like I think that the biggest concern is actually that they could just have empty shelves.
So in
That's
08
Yeah.
or 09, actually, we had $1 million order that we paid for the buckle.
Yep.
Denim. And they canceled it once it arrived.
Yep.
In America.
Yep.
And we almost went bankrupt because of it.
Yep. I've had situations like that in the sense smaller than that, but like just because of cutting forecasts so much, just because like it's almost like forecasting for the worst case scenario, that affects cash flow in a real way because you bring in the inventory for the old forecast, they slash the forecast, not based on today's selling, but on the maybe. And so now you're like, they're not ordering as aggressively.
And the cascading effect is if you're screwed in May, you're not going to buy as much for the fall.
Yeah, spring.
Right. And it's also like, it just affects the whole chain of like, how much inventory are they willing to hold? They're really good at getting real tight when shit looks a little dangerous.
And they're willing to fuck over businesses.
Yeah.
That
Or
we've experienced firsthand.
It's self-preservation, right? Like they don't care.
Yeah.
Their job is to look out for their own balance sheet.
That's fine.
And they are not going to sit on any excess inventory if they're unsure about the outlook.
Yeah.
USA.
We'll see.
See, he said he was going to cut a deal today.
We're going to deal this week.
I think this week's going to be a big week.
Yeah.
Japan was supposed to happen. Didn't
A
happen.
lot of green on the books this
With
week.
Japan.
Bitcoin's up. Gold's up.
Oil
Coinbase.
is booming.
Coinbase looks good. Yeah. Tonight.
Yeah.
All right, let's
All right.
wrap it up.
Let's
Comments.
wrap it the F up. YouTube, group chat news, holler at us.
At Timothy Bramlett. Yeah, Indian friend of mine was saying last week when we met in OC that Frisco has become a little India. It's a fantastic area to live, to be honest. Dallas area is pretty boring in general, though, so maybe more for people with families. Frisco is booming with Indians.
You love Frisco.
I'm
You went
telling
to
you,
Frisco?
H-1B people fearing their life, that's where they go for a holiday. 4 shout outs. What? From Manny. Shout out to D for continuing to say Trump regime is good, even though all y'all Indian cousins nervous to go out. Love you guys. Woke on and was maybe right.
Can I ask a quick question? Are like our previous guest here, like full-time citizens are just nervous?
So not citizens. We talked about this in the last pod when
Or full-time resident?
their green cards and H-1Bs.
Right.
And
Are you nervous on it?
no.
Because you're.
But why would people
I'm
be
a
nervous?
fucking American-born citizen.
I know.
I was
but-
born at
Yeah,
Northridge
I know,
Hospital.
I'm not sure.
I
Not
don't know
checking it.
about
You
you.
kind of look a little MS-13y to me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
tattoos.
You got tattoos.
Is that a 13? Is that
It's an 11.
MS-11.
Yeah, MS-11. You were like the
That's
early
Indian
version.
faction. Yeah.
You're the early version.
Yeah.
You should be fucking nervous.
Yeah, get him out of here.
No, but what I was talking about, on the last pod that we have first cousins that work at like Apple, Amazon, Meta. They're terrified. They don't
But
want to.
isn't that insane?
They don't want to leave to go back home to see their family. They are afraid of getting a parking ticket.
Aren't
Afraid
we
of
being
getting.
crazy here?
If I say it, I'm crazy.
Did you
I
hear-
agree.
did
I
you
think
hear-
it's fucking insane.
Okay.
Did you hear Rogan?
Which one? I don't know what.
There's a clip that's going viral. The guy's name Derek Poston.
Yeah.
He's a comedian.
Yeah.
There's a clip that's gone viral that he was basically like, where this is separate from the H-1B kids, right? Like
Right.
that are afraid of a parking ticket.
Right.
He was basically saying, we're overcorrecting the wrong way.
Right.
And we're just rounding up everyone and getting rid of them.
Right.
And if there's a few that are innocent, who gives a fuck? And that's wrong. And there's no due process. And then he brought up a quote. It's funny that Rogan's now the reasoning person from someone that was pro-Trump that's saying like, this is fucked up.
you motherfuckers. He's always been reasonable.
I always have.
I know you just
that.
said. You just said someone who's now reasonable who was pro-Trump.
No, that he's being perceived as reasonable.
Right.
I've always thought Rogan's reasonable.
Aren't we being crazy
so with his
to
point,
think?
so there's a Benjamin Franklin quote that he
I saw that,
references.
Yeah.
Like if 100 people that are guilty that get let free, but one innocent person gets convicted, then we made a huge mistake.
Right.
And he's like, this has been working for hundreds of years. Why are we changing it now?
Benjamin Franklin, who gives a fuck what he thinks?
Right.
No, but
aren't we being so crazy that if we have visas and H-1Bs, we're scared to go get a parking? I mean, isn't that like wildly?
No, they are.
I know,
I'm talking like firsthand.
But
No,
that's,
I'm not saying
that's
you're
the media
not telling the
is-
truth. I'm saying, isn't
the
that
media is scaring them?
isn't
Media
that a
scaring them.
fear that's like so outlandish?
It is outlandish.
There's a Stanford kid that had 2 speeding tickets got deported.
I got to know everything about him.
I
I know
need to
you
know
love
everything.
that.
Yeah, I want to know.
I got to know all the details.
I got to know all the details. What did he
didn't-
tweet?
He didn't.
What is he, pro Hamas?
Yeah.
Yeah, get him out of here.
Let's see about this guy. Well, let me see his tattoos.
All right, from
Good
Ashley.
thing I
Get him
got
out of
to.
here. This guy, I don't know what that says in cursive there,
I
but I
know.
think it's something about Trende
You
Aragua.
think you're fine here. You better watch out.
Yeah, get him out of here.
I'm fine.
Oh, man.
From Ashley, shouting out my fiance James, who this Friday is taking a day off from his own very busy job to help me move my therapy practice from one office to another. He's a diehard Kathy and introduced me to the pod when we first started dating 6 years ago. I've always wanted to surprise him with a shout out, and this finally seemed like the right time. Thanks. Amazing. Good work, James.
Good work.
From Nick, shout out to my wife Samantha, who is pregnant with our first baby. Woo! Baby girl coming
Tariff,
in May.
baby. Put a tariff on that baby.
Yeah. Hope it's a goddamn American.
Better
Sam
not be an
has
H-1B.
H1 baby.
H1 baby. Sam has been incredible through this whole journey and will be an absolutely amazing mother. Congratulations. From Tristano, a huge Conjo shout out to Andy and Dorothy, DJ duo, Shermanology, brother and sister. So fucking proud of you guys. Started from our small island in Curacao, then to the Netherlands, rising again from the ashes like fucking Phoenix. Last year, making music with Idris Elba in London, and this year on stage at fucking Coachella. Up and to the right, these guys are the ones to book right now. One love, Tristano. That's awesome.
Nice. Shout out.
Yeah.
Up and to
Big.
the right.
I like up and to the right. All
Especially
right,
to the
well,
right. You know what
I
I mean?
have a shout out, Anthony. The Kendrick tour started.
I know. It
Nice.
looks great.
It's my entire TikTok feed. I'm sure my algo's conditioned to it, but
Another L for Drake.
dude, I don't know how he survives this.
I don't know.
This tour is going on this is the start.
I know. He better
And
put
the
out
only song that's on the TikTok feed is that song.
I know.
No, I see all of them.
It's CIA, you know? They got the kids, the brainwash. They're
Yeah.
about to just plant that in brains all around
You know,
the world.
I don't know if you've seen enough of the TikToks. It's so crazy. Before he does the song,
Mm-hmm.
he puts his deposition
yeah.
on the screen.
I mean, you should see. I have a 7 and a 4-year-old. If TV Off comes out, they go, all I ever wanted was a Grand National. Fuck me and Rational.
No, they don't.
7 and 4-year-olds.
That's incredible.
It's fucking insane
It's
in
the
my
CIA.
house. Dominic knows every single word. And then we were in Orange County this weekend for Easter. I met them because I was working and I showed up late for dinner. They pull up. They're like, mustard!
So
Yeah,
I know
man.
D's going to have a different view.
Yeah.
I want an objective view.
Thank you. I'm here.
I don't know how Drake comes back from this. This is going to be about 8 months of this song just on TikTok.
He might never, like, he'll always be.
His ceiling just lower, you're thinking?
Yeah, like what just happened with that Party Next Door and Drake? Like, people like it, people play it, but he's not Drake.
Culturally the top.
Yeah.
But he's
And-
also old. It's over.
And also he keeps.
Isn't
he
Drake
keeps
old? I mean, sorry, isn't Kendrick old?
Yeah, but Kendrick's talking about mature topics. This guy's still talking about fucking bitches and side pieces and fucking buying bags. It's just like he has to make a fundamental change. I think he has to say, like, there has to be like a growth that happens here, and there's a new chapter of Drake, and I think that could be the biggest thing in the world.
This is the last dance for Kendrick, right? Like, this is the peak of his career. He's going to do a world tour.
Right.
He's never going to be bigger than what he is right now. He's going to make a fuckload of money, hundreds of millions of dollars.
Right.
And then, he'll continue to put out music. He'll still be relevant.
He'll disappear for a couple of years.
But I'm just saying, like, this is Opus 1. This is it. He did it. He's going to do his tour. The victory lap will be, 18 months. And then he's cemented. And Drake is just going to be old and fucking bitches.
Yeah, just talking about
But
getting
the
his heart
thing
broken.
is like you saw in our other chat, our Indian chat, like, you got to listen to Drake. The music's great. Like, there's people that are going to continue.
His old catalog's incredible.
No, but his
There's no
catalog
question.
period is incredible. And so, like, it doesn't even matter. Like, musically, he'll always be relevant.
Yeah.
Think about it. Like, Michael Jackson got accused of fucking rape
Right.
of
Yeah.
children.
Right.
And you play a Michael Jackson song in a nightclub, the place goes crazy.
Right. And I think, how far Drake will still be able to do stadiums. It's like, it's not that big of a fall.
Yeah.
But he was the guy.
He's
Yeah,
not
he was the guy.
He's not
He
the
was-
zeitgeist.
He was the pop culture,
Yeah.
rap music,
Every aspect.
fucking everything.
Yeah.
And I just think he,
The fall of the Roman Empire. It all falls.
yeah.
Everyone falls.
Yeah. They'll still go visit the Coliseum, though. People go every year.
Yeah.
Same thing.
I got a selfie at the Coliseum.
Yeah, it's great. That'll be Drake.
Yeah. All right.
All right. Fuck yeah. Everyone have a great week. Thank you for listening.
That's not enough.
It's going to be a good week. We all feel
Squabble up.
optimistic. Turn the TV off.